It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 138, Frontier in Space.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field now.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
Resulting reaction, describe it. Are you ready?
Welcome back.
Welcome back
to the old Doctor
Who
Who show. We are back. We are
It's your
back.
tri-weekly
We didn't go away, but we came
classic
back anyway. Last time we were here in
Doctor
the old
Who.
Doctor Who show, what happened? We were talking about Power of the Doctor. We're talking about new Doctor Who with old Doctor Who. And now we're going right back to the good stuff. We're going right to the source. We're going right to the street legal, pure stuff. The old days, before the fentanyl was in everything. We're going to the source. 70s sci-fi. Dan, how are you?
making me terribly uncomfortable, and I love it.
I love it. That's what I'm here
great.
for.
Eric, I'm great.
Do you think junkies are sitting around and old junkies and they're just talking constantly about the old days of pure heroin and now all the kids with their fentanyl that keeps killing people? There's got to be some nostalgia to it, and all right, already enough, old man. Is there that kind of energy going on? I don't know, junkies. Right.
No, I mean, most of my conversations do end that way anyway. But I'm the only one in the room talking about it. I'm actually the only one in the room, that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't. Hey, Eric,
we're not here to talk about the potency, the purity of street heroin, are we?
Well, I mean, not exclusively that, but I also wanted to mention. But whenever you hear this recording, it could be the day it comes out. It could be 20 years into the future. Who knows?
We don't know.
We
don't know.
Mark this time by saying Twitter is imploding.
Yes.
And that's where we tend to have most of our interactions.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Twitter, just briefly.
Yeah, this is what people are tuning in for.
Well, I left Twitter. I was on my way out of Twitter. And then I pretty much abandoned it completely. I don't really want any part of it. Which is a shame because, to what I think you were going to say, I would talk to listeners occasionally.
Absolutely.
And I miss that. So I would just let people know that I'm on Mastodon.
Are you? I was looking for you because I got over there.
It's so confusing.
It's not so bad once you get started.
I mean, you got to understand, there's these different servers. You got to pick your server, and they're interconnected, and you can move from one to the other. But it needs like a UX overhaul. It's not a great experience. I'm on there. I have 4 followers or something. Not that I had a ton of followers, but I had 1,000 people on Twitter. And then I went over. I'm like, hey, I'm going over. Nobody followed me back over there. I followed some people that followed me on Twitter. Didn't follow me back. I'm like, I don't need this for. I like Tumblr. Right? Tumblr's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's total weirdos. Somebody on Tumblr, because I was looking at Tumblr today, posted that leaving Twitter for Tumblr is like leaving a building on fire, where everyone's dying and finding another building that had burned down 4 years ago and is being reclaimed by nature. That's how Tumblr definitely feels. I love it.
I love that.
That's where I am mostly. You can find me. Grissom is my username on Tumblr, and that's where I feel most comfortable. And I can just post stuff. I can just post. I posted some of your wonderful GIFs.
Yes,
your great GIFs. It got some traction. GIFs. People seem to reblog it and stuff, so that was cool. So I think I'm going to slowly introduce your GIFs into the to the Tumblr world.
Great. No, I think that's really interesting. I have found Mastodon to be a little bit more. Once I kind of understood, actually, it doesn't matter.
So we don't even follow each other on Mastodon.
Hang on. You don't even have to, you have to choose a server to join, but it doesn't actually matter at all. So, don't go and join the biggest server there is. Go find one that seems generally okay, and the only difference you have between servers is what their local rules are. So on the one that I'm on, for example,
what are
one
you
of the
on?
rules, I'm at DanJNJ at mastodon.lol.
See, I'm on
because why not?
mastodon.social.
Yeah, which is one of the bigger ones. But what's nice, you can join a smaller one. They're all run by volunteers, so the smaller means you get a little bit, maybe the sysadmin doesn't have to do as much, and they're able to more focus on it as opposed to like dealing with this influx of idiots like me. Also, they just have different rules. So like the one I'm on, for example, has a rule that might not be in others, where you have to, if you post an image or media, you have to add alt text for accessibility. I think that's a great rule. So there's a lot of things like that. Some servers that you join will block other servers, like they're proactive in blocking Nazi servers. That's cool. I love it. So I'll join those. So you can join any of them, but then once you do that, everything else is just like normal. You don't have to worry about it. I can find you. We can follow each other.
Well, you say that, but I just looked you up and then put people, and I don't see you.
Look for DanJNJ at
So
mastodon.lol.
Do I have to know your subserver?
Maybe. Yes, I think so.
See,
So
that's
some
what
of
they
that
gotta work
discoverability
on.
will probably get a lot better. It's open source software. I plan on doing nothing but contributing to that for the rest of my... No, I'm kidding. But anyway, it's fun. This is all to say. This is not a tech podcast. This is just to say I'm going to be engaging less for Doctor Who on Twitter. I think we'll keep the account there because, folks, we're hitting the end of the road here.
Yeah,
so
it's
might as
not
well just
looking
finish
great.
it out there.
It's like really sad. I find it very sad.
Yeah. I've had a lot of fun engagement on Twitter for the Doctor Who show.
Twitter
I
was
love
great. It went downhill several years ago. Maybe around 2016.
Ooh, weird.
Yeah,
weird.
very
Why did
strange.
that happen? What happened?
But I just feel terrible. Again, we're not a tech podcast, but there's
But
people
we are both
that
in the
worked
tech industry.
decades there, and I worked, ripping the curtain back. I do web development. You work at
Hey,
a
me
popular,
too.
very popular web. How would you describe it? Web design services.
It's
business.
your all-in-one web platform.
Yeah, rhymes with Fairface.
Yes. It's shocking.
But
I work
anyway,
for a company
I've worked at these places. You work 60 hours a week. Sometimes you work 70. There's crunch times. You're killing yourself for this company. Yep. And then this dude waltzes in and buys, 9% of the company, something like that. And then he changes it and says he's going to buy the whole thing and makes a crazy offer. Then he tries to get out of it. Then he's sort of legally forced to buy it. Then he cuts half the staff months before the holidays with just has terrible ideas. That's the thing. I always thought maybe he was a smart person. My first contact with him was he was talking about how we're in a simulation, and I was on some YouTube video. I was like, oh, this guy might be actually kind of interesting. I followed him on Twitter for a week, and I guess I was just expecting, a different kind of timeline. It would be like SpaceX stuff or science or AI or interesting ways of looking at the world, and instead it was just really basic troll stuff, just memes that were taken from people, and then you start learning about him. You're like, oh, he's Kendall from Succession. He's essentially the same character. You watch for no Succession spoilers.
That's pretty good.
But when he buys Vaulter, overpaying for a company without business sense seems, and yet he's the richest person in the world. And then you start looking at you go in, you think he invented Tesla, and he didn't. He just bought stock in it and then made himself a co-founder, even though he wasn't a co-founder. Then you're like, oh, well, he was involved in PayPal, but you're like, no, he was.
No.
He merged with PayPal, and his business isn't even part of PayPal's.
Nope.
Correct. The magic part about sending money, that wasn't him.
No.
Maybe he does. I don't know anything about SpaceX. Maybe his genius is
He
there.
actually builds the rockets. He's there, actually, the mechanic. He's the head mechanic at SpaceX. So that part, at least, is cool.
And yes, clearly he's a very smart person. Whatever criteria you're using, I think that's probably 100% true. But certainly I wouldn't say a genius. I think most of this stuff is just marketing. But anyway, it drives you crazy. It's fine. I'm not here to talk about that. But it does break my heart that we're this close to the holidays. All these people are getting fired. People are leaving, demanding loyalty, and you got to work. That's not how you inspire people to stay. You make a good product. You be a good leader, and people will follow you to hell. It's just like this. I just feel like he's very insecure, and it's just damaging the world, and it just is sign of a greater problem as a society where you have people that have $44 billion, although I know he borrowed. But it's like nothing, and people are sleeping in the streets. Let's talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well,
Please add to that,
that's
Dan.
Fine. Let's
Please,
just
I don't need to be
instead.
the only one who's now going to get shadow banned.
No, it's fine. Go ahead and get shadow banned. Long story short,
but we're keeping it on.
Keep the old Doctor Who show account going on Twitter until we hit the end of the road here. I might start maybe migrating some stuff over. That's another thing for Twitter. There's plenty of different services where you can export all of your follows and followers and just import them right into Mastodon. If they're there,
so are you thinking of eventually doing that with the proper
maybe we'll move some stuff over
show account, or just
maybe we'll do that? Maybe we'll put it on Tumblr.
We have a Tumblr for it. I just never update it. There is a TODW. I think it's TODW show is the Tumblr. I had registered it when we first started the show, and I don't think I ever posted anything.
Or we have a website, obviously, the old Doctor Who show. So we'll just keep it there. Anyway, folks, thank you for the wild ride. And
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, keep engaging on Twitter, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, Eric,
we're here to talk about how I got
I watched a
graffiti
classic
on vinyl at Goodwill for $4. A good deal. No, Dan, talk to me.
No. We're going to do a.
Did you spend a long time looking up, like, what do I got to put under my turntable? No, Dan, go. Come on, Dan.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to mention that I saw this classic Doctor Who episode that I wanted to talk to you about.
Well, the entire 7 years
that,
or 8 years of us is just you trying to talk me down of my ADHD ledge. Unsuccessfully. No, seriously. I found a inbox.
No, just seriously, folks.
Amp. Toshiba amp from like 1980 something for $30. Can't beat that. So I've been putting together, trying to get my record player back because it had been down for a long time. And speaking of down for a long time, the humans are down because they think the Draconians are attacking. Let's talk about Frontier in Space. Let's hit that button. I got nothing else to talk about. I was thinking of talking about this time I dropped my daughter off and this woman started telling me This is what happens when I have 2 cups of coffee.
This is the commander of the Draconian battle cruiser. We are locked onto your vessel and are about to board. If you offer any resistance, you will be destroyed. Open the hatch of your airlock.
I found these 2 dragons in the hold.
But that's impossible. They're only just locking on.
Doctor, what's happening? What's going on?
I'm not sure, Joe. Something rather intriguing.
If you resist, we can destroy you with our neutronic weapons.
If you destroy our ship, you won't get the cargo.
So that's what it's all about.
Dan,
Eric,
Dan, I'm here to talk to you about Frontier in Space. Did you know?
Probably
this is the 3rd serial of the 10th season, lucky number 10. We finally got there. This is from 1973. It's written by Malcolm Hulke. Hulking out. This is directed by Paul Bernard, who, if I'm not mistaken, is also an avid listener of our podcast. This is about the Doctor and Joe nearly smash into an Earth cargo ship carrying flour, and thanks to sound drugs, the crew mistakes them for Draconian raiders, and it quickly becomes evident that the misunderstanding is part of a larger scheme, orchestrated by none other than the Master to pit the Draconian Empire against the humans of Earth. For someone else that he's working for, that
Who
shall
could it
remain
be?
a secret. It's the Daleks. Dan, what did you think? What did you think of this 6-part serial?
Should I just say right up front that a 6-parter should always be a 4-parter?
Okay, anyway, sure.
But anyway,
say that up front.
So we'll leave that aside. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. I like Pertwee in this. I love Pertwee and Joe Grant. I think that's a really good chemistry that, again, we come to the each episode completely out of order. So I don't know how long they've been traveling together at this point that we're seeing it. We're like Time Lords that have no control over our TARDISes. Tardai. So, but yeah, they're super fun. The Ogrons are really fun.
Yeah, you gotta love them Ogrons.
So silly, which is great.
Now, had we seen the Ogrons before? I guess we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So there's that. The mind control stuff or the hypnosis stuff was kind of fun. I did get bummed out as soon as the Master appeared on the screen.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, always. And then I got doubly bummed out whenever the Daleks appeared. It just there was
two puncher.
Did not need that at all. But overall, it was fun. I mean, the intergalactic politics was kind of interesting with the president and her, I guess, like Minister of Defense or whatever was kind of interesting to see, like the power dynamics between the two of them and the history. Anyway, it was a pleasant watch. Eric, what did you think about this?
What did I think? Well, I often think, like, is this guy in some kind of Brewster's Millions scenario where he has to, like, completely destroy Twitter in order to get more money? But he's already rich, so that doesn't make sense. It's like every decision is as if he's got to lose money, right? No,
right.
Dan.
Brewster's Millions is a good reference. I was saying that the producers, the Mel Brooks
also same concept,
same thing. But I like Brewster's Millions better. That's a good one.
I want to talk about Frontier in Space.
Oh yeah.
I loved Frontier in Space. Okay. You said 6 parts was too much. I say 6 parts was just right.
Nope.
I felt that the pacing was great. I felt like you were in sort of one story for the first half or so, and then you get your time with the Master, who I loved. I thought he was great. Yeah. I agree with you when you see the Master and you're like, oh, man. But he's so good. He's good at it. That I would give you that. I loved it.
He's great. Yeah. I just didn't want him to be in this story.
No, I get it. And the Dalek portion of it that happens at the end is very brief, although the cliffhanger at the end of this, which we'll eventually get to, implies the next story is going to be very Dalek heavy. I believe it is Planet of the Daleks, right, or something like that, which we are also reviewing. I just thought it was great. I mean, it was a really diverse cast. To point out, which is not something we usually see. So you have the leader of the Earth is a woman. Then you have like some women aren't even allowed to speak on the Draconian planet, which I guess we'll talk to. But a lot of the cast was like a mix of different, races and ethnicities or whatever. That I feel like we don't usually see that, right?
It didn't actually register to me as being especially diverse.
Oh, because you didn't get your woke card. You have to punch your woke card every and you have to, in every 10, you have to, then you get to what's the word I'm looking for? Performative? No. Is that it? Virtue signaling, yes. And then you have to turn the virtual signal machine on, and then that sends the message to the communists. Gotcha. No, for me anyway. That's because it was like usually it's like you'd be hard to find a woman that isn't a companion in one of these things, and there was a lot, and then there was different people. Now I can't remember any. Oh, when you go to the prison planet on the moon, which was awesome, but I thought that was good. I loved Jo in this particularly. I thought she was great, especially when she does her filibustering later on when she's telling that long rambling story to keep the Master who's watching on the closed circuit TV system. You get character growth. That General, what is his name? The human General Williams. You actually he's set up as sort of like a bad guy, and you think that he's even in on it. And he actually has like a character arc that changes over the course of the 6 episodes. You hear about his dad, I think maybe did some things he wasn't supposed to or whatever in some previous Draconian war. And then he's actually one of the people that goes out and, joins that ragtag group of misfits with the Dragon Man or whatever. I liked it. I just thought it was good. The Ogrons, Planet of the Apes energy, also reminded me of the orcs from the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. Very much so in their design. Great space battles. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
It was fun.
I thought it was very fun.
Oh, All right. Well,
there you go.
That pretty much did that.
Are we done?
I'll say I like the Draconans. I agree with all of that. I mean, yes, it was fun. As I said, it was an enjoyable watch. Stop telling me that I didn't like it. I liked it. I liked it just fine.
Okay.
It was an enjoyable watch. The Draconans. I liked the character design for them.
Yeah.
I like that there was a prosthetic that actually changed the actual shape of their head.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time you see them, they're actually on a video screen further back in the distance on the shot, and I was like. To me, I thought they were doing like a Farscape thing, where it was like puppets instead.
Oh, really?
Because it was so. It looked
elongated.
like, wow, that looked very different. And then you see them on camera in close-ups, and the makeup looks great. It has that kind of Silurian sort of scaly thing go up the sides, but then their head is all elongated, and it looked. I like when they're able to do something more than, they just give them big furry eyebrows, and now you're an alien race. It was good. I thought it was really effective. The Ogrons is a pretty cool design as well, so you get a little bit of variety.
I had asked about them earlier. So they're working with the Daleks, but have we? They seem familiar to me, but I couldn't remember and I didn't take the 2 minutes to Google search. Have we seen them before? Probably. They were an interesting space race, and they make a point of saying how dumb they are. But they felt very much like Planet of the Apes is popular. Especially when you get to their planet and it looks like the Planet of the Apes planet, and they're might as well be on horseback throwing nets around Bright Eyes.
Yes, we saw them in Carnival of Monsters.
Okay,
which was the one that immediately preceded this, I believe. And if we did review Day of the Daleks, which because every episode name is the same, and I can't remember its noun of the noun. Anyway,
noun of the noun.
Noun of the noun. Then we would have seen them there as well. Anyway, Eric, go ahead. More.
What I was going to say, this not related to this episode at all. You said had we reviewed it, it's like I love Doctor Who, especially we talked about this last time with Power of the Doctor, and it's like I was actually I was like, I'm going to be very sad when this ends our little experiment here. And then I was like, maybe there's some Tom Baker stories we missed. And I ended up going through BritBox and looking what we reviewed. And we've reviewed everything. There's nothing left except for Wheel in Space, which I may have added to the schedule.
Oh, my gosh.
But that's it. We've reviewed. So yes, unless it's an episode coming up, we've reviewed it. Which is where I wanted to actually reach out to the listeners and find out, is there any story that we did not review that is complete? We don't want to do an incomplete
and it's important.
Story.
And it's important.
Well, you say important, and now we're way off this review to the new David Tennant story where we there's some rumors, or is it official, that Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Celestial Toymaker, right? I don't know if that's a rumor or if that's confirmed. But that's a Hartnell story that is not on BritBox. I don't know if that is that because it's just lost, like they erased it with Simon, or is it just they don't have the rights to it?
It's because of adult content. They had to take it down.
I knew that.
It's mostly topless. It's mostly topless.
Yeah, it was like pre-OnlyFans.
But here's the thing: the nudity served a purpose.
Needed money. Hartnell really needed money.
It wasn't gratuitous, and it's actually necessary.
It was very
for
classic.
The story.
It was like Barbarella had just come out. No,
right.
If I would love to, can you imagine Hartnell floating in space and slowly stripping as how it opens?
Yes, I can. I love it.
I would love to see that. So let us let us know. So that I can keep Dan forever. If there's other stories, because from what I can tell, we've literally done everything.
Yes,
there's no more classic Doctor Who. It's not that we don't even want the show to go on. There's nowhere left to go.
Which we don't.
Right.
No, we definitely did do. I'm sending you some links now. Yes. How can we forget Day of the Daleks with the Ogrons in it? Because
look at that tricycle. Yes, thank you.
It is silly as
thank
hell.
you, Dan.
Here's another one that should jog your memory.
This is great for a podcast because Dan is sending me GIFs. But if we remember, we'll put those GIFs on the actual show page.
Exactly.
All right, hold on. My dog's barking. I know this drives people crazy, and Anyway, the podcast police will have me arrested. I was
Anyway.
looking at Dan's thing. But yeah, let's get back to this particular story. I thought the pacing, and maybe I'm repeating myself, but who cares? Oh, God, I remember that stupid GIF that you just sent.
I know.
It
it's great.
feels like it works. It's like really, I found really well paced, that when you're in this initial thing where people are seeing, they call them dragons, which is like a skin
Derogatory,
job
don't say that.
for Blade Runner fans. You know, it's a derogatory term, so there's some sense of like, you know...
Or for fans of skin.
Yeah, they have some animosity towards each other that goes back generations. But you have that little story that I feel like exists in a nice little universe. And then, I don't remember when you get like the ambassador from wherever comes to arrest. And that was great when you see like the crimes that they committed and they're looking at the slideshow or whatever when they're finding out like the master has introduced a criminal record for both Joe and the doctor. So this guy comes in and then you're like, oh, it's the master. And then I feel like the story pivots, but it in a good way. And then it's like that story. And then you have like maybe even a whole episode of the master and the doctor, you know, taking him away. There's one element that I want to throw to you. And that was why, other than he secretly loves the doctor, why does he need the doctor? The master, because he makes a point of setting a trap, getting him to come there. He's like, you know, I want him to come here. This is all part of the plan. Because I'm going to give him his TARDIS back or something. But like, what was? Because ultimately he's working with the Daleks. And in exchange for, is it in exchange for the doctor? Was that what they were going to hand the doctor over to the master, or the master was going to hand the doctor to then the Daleks?
rule like the Daleks are going to take over all of everything.
He wanted to rule Earth.
But he wants Master says like, put me in coach. I'll rule in your stead, but don't kill the doctor right away. Like the Daleks are ready to exterminate the doctor, and he's like, don't do it. That's kind of like that's too good for him. I want him to suffer and watch his beloved Earth come to heal.
And he says, but then another time when he's with the Ogrons, he's going to kill the doctor. Right, sure. And he's like, it feels weird to do it with long range lasers. So they're coming up, but he's going to kill them there. But he also tells Joe at one point that like, no, I don't want to kill the doctor because I got to get him here. And I was like, is there like an element that I'm just not paying attention to, or?
No, I don't. From what I can tell, it didn't seem like he was necessary for the plan to be successful. It was just the ultimate motivation was to mess with the doctor. As he always does, but I forgot about that time where
he loves him. He's like,
absolutely,
he can't quit him.
Why would he want to?
I don't know.
No,
they have great chemistry. I like the two of them. I loved Delgado was awesome in this.
Absolutely, as always.
And so is Joe. Joe is great. Joe's like escaping, her digging herself out of prison, and I loved all of it. It was cool. I thought it was a very well put together space romp.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about just like
talk about sexist draconians. No, what do you want?
Yeah,
to
let's
talk
do
about?
that. I mean, we don't need to go through the whole chronology of this one. It was fun. You guys have seen this, but just a couple like fun or key moments. The Doctor does reverse the polarity of his sonic screwdriver. So I just want to call it out because it's important that it happens. Super fun. I liked the whole like mind control thing. Like it was fun.
The sound wave that stimulated your brain center or whatever.
So we first get introduced to it when Joe, in the first episode, Joe's looking at a monitor on the ship and sees another ship out in space coming towards them, and it changes. And I couldn't really tell what it was supposed to be doing, but then you find out, okay, it's actually supposed to look like a Draconian ship. Now that I mention it, though, it stimulates the fear centers of your brain. Why would she see a Draconian ship?
She doesn't. A Draconian ship?
The ship.
Okay.
Right. But she doesn't see a Draconian.
No, she sees like a monster that... Was that from Carnival of Fear?
That was from Carnival of Fear, right.
The previous one.
Carnival of Monsters. Carnival of Monsters. That was the...
Carnival of Monsters.
A Drashig, which I didn't really remember, but it was that was a puppet. That was fun. Anyway.
It's so hard to keep track of these episodes. To your point about it being named,
makes no sense that we did it this way.
Like I added Wheel in Space. I swear we did Wheel in Space.
Yeah.
Right? It's
did
not
Ark in
on that
Space.
list.
We did
Ark
Robert
in
Jordan's
Space.
Wheel of Time.
I think it's Ark in
podcast.
Space and Wheel of Time. It's not Wheel of Time.
of Fortune. No, we did Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, yeah, because that
Right.
whole Pat Sajak murder scene.
Yeah. It was when he finally killed Vanna.
Right.
So what else happened?
How did you like the moon? I love, and again, we get to the moon. It's like a whole other thing. It's like a prison show. It's like Oz, but with the Doctor. And there's like that ruffian guy that's running
Just
the
as much
under.
civic.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
got like his own black market thing where he's working with the professor. And I love how there's always like a pacifism always runs through some of these shows, which I like. Because I'm what's the word? Beta? No. That I like that. And then there's like the peace party, and then they're all and they're gonna have a revolution. It doesn't really go anywhere. And again, I can't remember the character's name, who's like the first person that the Doctor meets when he's online. But I liked all of that, and it was short. Maybe you probably could have had a whole story of the Doctor in prison.
Right.
But it was fun. I thought that was cool.
You got in there. You got the situation becomes very clear. You get the prison
corrupt.
warden,
You have the
governor. You get all that. Yeah, and then he's taking. He wants to get rid of the Doctor. It was good. You're right. It was a good sort of. What do you want to call it? Like a diversion, or like you said, kind of pivoting to a different story, but didn't feel extraneous. And they pivot again to another
right.
part. And
Like it
felt
never.
okay. Like,
I felt it never spent so much time on something that it felt redundant, which we've had in other past ones where it's like, oh, now he escapes and then he's back and then he gets caught again by the same people.
I mean, they
It's
do.
like,
Let's to be fair.
Okay.
They do that a couple of times. So they get put into a cell on the freighter ship.
Yeah.
And then they escape, and then they get put back into it, and then they're let out again. And they go back into it again. It's just like they do that a bunch. Joe gets imprisoned in that cell with bars. And they give her Ogron gives her food, and she uses the spoon to dig her way out. Which it's funny because
I didn't understand that because she's
on potting soil. Like that soil made no sense.
Right, and she's on
like,
potting
she
soil
could've
and
just
she's
used her
digging
fingers.
down. And the next time you see her, she's like coming up. It's like, what? How does that work?
Well, they cut out a whole part where she dug through the planet to the other end, and there was another cell there. So she tunneled under the cell up into the next adjoining cell.
Yeah, okay.
How did she know it was?
And it was going to be
unlocked?
open. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was closed. She opens it.
Yeah,
though.
it was a nice.
It was
thing.
very strange. But anyway, she should have tunneled forward into the hallway instead of into the next cell. Whatever, Joe. Good job. That was really fun. What else happens? The Earth military uniforms. They looked like they were designed by Nerf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were.
That was
crazy.
weird.
Big
the
foam
helmet
pads.
thing and the protect. That's the first time I saw that. I was like, "Who is that for?" Like, you're protecting your jaw from like what? Are you hitting it? It was like the face is gonna like have just cool helmets. I don't know. I didn't like the design of the.
They had big fluffy boots.
Yeah,
it was a very strange design, but very I guess
great.
Futuristic for the 70s or something. But it was crazy. But on the other end of it, you had some exterior shots of different buildings, like the embassy. I don't know. I didn't go look. I'm sure someone says this on the wiki, but it was like this really stark, brutalist design for the exterior, that all cement and harsh angles. That looked very cool, but then you go over to this other place, and it's clearly someone's house in the countryside, but it has these really interesting architectural details to it.
Yeah.
So, like, I could see why they chose that, but it's like, it's just some dude's
It's
house.
just someone's
But
house.
it was fun.
I loved
those
all
were
of the
nice.
stuff on Earth. So she's trying to like the president is trying to sort of hold together some semblance of peace with this treaty, and every once in a while you see like the rabble outside yelling, and it doesn't seem that far off from where we are, where they're demanding war and they're screaming and there's this like move to authoritarianism, and whether or not she's going to have power at a certain point. So I found all that stuff kind of interesting. And like all classic Doctor Who stories in the 70s, there's like an anti-bureaucracy thing to it. Like the Master at one point he's like, are you worried about the Doctor getting away? He's like, he'll be dying and drowning in paperwork or whatever.
Basically, yeah.
That was fun. But it was cool. So it was like there was a lot of stuff going on, but I thought it was pretty good.
We also got a couple of scenes of action hero Pertwee, not just in fight scenes, but doing his spacewalks.
He's floating
which was
out
fun.
there.
There was the first time they show it. It was pretty good. Like it wasn't super convincing, but okay, for this show, totally kind of spacewalking out there and doing his thing. The second time they do it, the cables were they were like gigantic, like 3-inch thick cables, which casting shadows onto. It was really, really bad. But fun that they got to do that, and you can just see like Pert was like again, write another scene where I get to
that scene. That scene in particular is a little odd because like the master ship is fast approaching, and they have a problem, and as you're saying, the doctor's out there fixing it, and the Draconian guy is like, give me the radio, I'll call and tell them like we're cool. Like, oh no, it's not the master ship, right? Is it the Draconians that are coming? Yeah,
I think so.
Right, or with the whatever. In any case, he's like, let me call, and then Williams is like, no. And then he spends his time telling the doctor to hurry up. Like, at least try. Like, it wouldn't have hurt for the guy to... I just thought that was a little weird from General Williams. He's like, what do you think? They're going to pick up the phone? It's like...
Right.
But you could still try. It's not like we're doing anything anyway. I don't know.
Well, you don't know. He didn't have the prepaid plan. He'd have to pay extra to make that
back then,
call,
you did pay by minutes. Everything was minutes. Or like
Can you even
before
imagine
Apple,
that
like when
again?
you had to like have so many texts, like you could send 40 texts a month.
I mean, there were a whole series of commercials where it's like you get to carry your minutes, some of your minutes. Don't let your minutes go to waste. You can roll over.
And
to
then
the
they were
next
like
month.
your circle, your inner family, like you could talk to
they
them
don't count.
forever, but everyone else you had to pay. And then Apple was like, everything's free.
This is just dumb. Let's stop doing that.
Oh, okay, I guess And now that's why the Verizon stock and the AT&T stock are not really moving. Because they've run out of ways to rip you off, and
so again, what we're saying
at
is
oversaturation of the mobile market.
You need to invest in crypto. Right now is the best time to. Okay, so what else we got? We got.
What if we just started selling like dietary supplements and
I think that's the key to success.
It's possible. Maybe that's maybe that's our future.
Hey,
What
Eric,
happens with
did
the
you know-
master at the end? The end, I find, as much as I like... Sorry, I hit the mic. As much as I like this story, I felt the end was the weakest part. So for the listeners at home that did not watch this and have now woken up after a car wreck, and they're
I hope you're okay.
I hope you're okay. Your iPhone is stuck in the play position, and it's just playing Doctor Who podcast, and you got to this one.
Yep.
The doctor has taken the sound, the audio drugs that makes you see your thing, and he's reversed the polarity or whatever he's done, that he's going to use it against the Ogrons and give him terrible headaches. So the master catches him, and he's got the gun on him, and he sends off the thing, and the Ogrons are the sound, and the master shoots the doctor. And kills him. You think he's going to regenerate it. They carried that scene on long enough where you're like, oh, is he... Yeah.
He gets shot twice, and Joe thinks he's dead. But anyway, yeah.
And then the master just leaves? Like, the master seeing his fears and had to run away? Like, why didn't the master just... I don't know. It was like all of a sudden he was just shot, but then Joe was just standing there. They just, like, let her... Didn't it seem weird? And all of a sudden everyone's gone, and then he's struggling to get back in the TARDIS. It was like...
And Joe brings back the TARDIS. And then it ends abruptly right there as a crazy cliffhanger. Apparently, this story and the next one were originally conceived as a 12-parter. Can you imagine?
God, thank God.
I know. We wouldn't
See,
have
it's
done
like
it that
these
way,
little
but,
moments that you really have to just like take in, some weird decision that happened 40 years ago or whatever affected us now. It's like butterflies, butterfly wings and Ashton Kutcher films. That's really the only thing
that's the only thing
that holds us together.
Just a quick PSA for everyone. If you're ever going to be hypnotized, keep singing nursery rhymes.
I forgot she fought against the hypnosis.
And now
Great episode for
She
Joe.
is she's completely resistant to it. So I wish the doctor gets the mind control whistle. I thought what he was going to do, because it activates the fear centers of the brain, he was going to change it so it activates like the compassion center. So the Ogrons would be like, "We want to help you. We want to save you." I think that would have been much more interesting than like he fuddled with it and then it just did the same thing it always did, but did it to them instead. Like it just would have been. I know when we redo this with our own version that we're going to film shortly. We're casting, by the way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make that one change. I think it's really important.
I think that's a good note.
Thank you.
So that happened. I got nothing else. Do you have anything else, Dan?
Well,
can
we just mention real quick?
Mention it.
I'm going to mention it.
Please.
In the last episode, we're on the planet where the Ogrons are. There's the big blobby creature.
Oh yeah, that they worship because there's like the
worship / fear.
Yeah, it's a little unclear.
Okay, that's all. It was just there for a minute for no
reason.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to play a part in any way.
No.
Other than you like, oh, they have a drawing of one.
And then you see it on top of a hill.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But anyway, that was strange. That clearly was cut, right? There must have been something in the script that was going to... Like, did they add the Daleks in later and this was going to have a conclusion? Well, no, you said it was supposed to be a 12-part or something.
It was the continuation. But I also read originally it was going to be, instead of the Ogrons, it was going to be Cybermen. So it would have been Cybermen and Daleks. And I just would have stopped watching.
I like the Planet of the Ogrons. I mean, that was like, again, I loved the original Planet of the Apes movies. Not that I don't like the ones that followed it. But that's what it reminded me very much of that.
Yep. So we end this episode with the Doctor somewhat injured, but we don't know so much.
Yeah.
And Joe brings him in, and he uses the telepathic circuits on the console to contact the Time Lords, and then it's just like, that's it. End of the episode.
And then it was a hard cut, and then it was like, oh my God, are we going to review it? And then I was like, did we already review it? And we're reviewing it out of order, but no, we are doing it in 2 or 3 releases. Not weeks.
For whatever reason. We could just decide to do the next one because we are but we're not gonna.
But that means I have to change the HTML in the,
and no one wants to do that.
The listing table, and I'm not going to do that.
No one.
Yeah, that is hard coded in there.
It's a deficiency.
Yeah, so we just did Frontier in Space. Android Invasion is next with our friend Tom Baker, the last Tom Baker story we're going to do. Oh. Then we go back to Hartnell for the Ark.
Oh my God!
Then we go back to Troughton for Wheel in Space. Then we go back to Pertwee for Planet of the Daleks, and then the last movie.
And then we're gonna redo all of the Colin Baker stories.
Sure. Hey, but if there's another story for real that we have missed, even if it's not on BritBox, as long as it's complete, maybe we can get a digital copy or whatever.
We don't need to know.
We don't need to know. I would like to know. I mean, we're so close to doing everything, Dan.
In the weirdest possible order.
It's really very strange that we've. It
doesn't make any sense.
It feels like there should be more. I mean, I know many were destroyed.
We started with the Aztecs of all things.
I know.
It's so weird. Why do? It did make sense because the first Earthly Child wasn't available.
We'll just do what's on Netflix, and they're like, "Wait, Doctor Who's on Netflix?" Years ago, decades ago. At this point,
who even knows? Anyway, Eric, I think that was everything there.
We did everything. I don't have anything else to say about Frontier.
You know what I forgot to do?
I really liked it.
You know what I forgot to do?
What?
Let anyone know we were recording today. So I didn't even put that out there. So we got nothing. We got no listener feedback because I didn't do my one job. But anyway,
who's going to post it where now? We already talked about Twitter.
Go ahead and tweet at us if you want to. We'll still do the old Doctor Who show.
Or
we'll
Tumblr with me.
Do a Tumblr. You can always email us at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. Then you don't have to worry about any sort of intermediation on platforms. Just write to us, and we'll read it next time. Sorry that we forgot to do it this. I'm putting this on both of us. We forgot to mention it this time, so let us know what you thought.
Yeah, please let us know what you thought. Oh, and the other problem is, like, you have to write me, or you have to write us and tell us to make sure we review more shows, because I have to get this podcast, Dan doesn't realize this podcast has to go till 2024 when my next graphic novel comes out, because that's the only way I'm going to get that UK bump that I really very much appreciate. So yes, please. How do we keep on? I don't want to review anymore.
We're going to do the old Doctor Who show presents 8 is Enough.
8 is Enough. Oh my God.
The old Doctor Who show presents Benson. We're just going to do shows from the early 80s, I think.
That might be. That's funnier on paper, but maybe it would be.
No,
great.
we're not doing that. No, it would be terrible. We're not doing that.
For some reason, I think I watched a lot of Benson.
I did too.
8 is enough. I'm sure I did. I know I did. I couldn't tell you one plot of one single episode.
Why would
Nor
you?
could I have Benson. I was way into Alice.
Real
one day
Alice
at a
head
time.
over here.
I mean, as a child of a single mother, it was like all of my shows were also based on sketches with single mothers, I guess.
They were also shows that would air on syndication between the hours of 3 p.m. and 5 p.m.
And we both
get
talked about
latchkey
how much we both liked It's a Living, right?
yes, we
yeah.
did.
That
what's
was
happening
great.
and what's happening now?
Yeah, sure.
The
I
Lost
watched both of them. What's happening
Yeah.
was superior, obviously, to what's happening now. That was
course.
bad news. That was
Bad News
We're just
Bears.
naming sitcoms now from the.
That's going to be our podcast for the next 2 years. It's just naming sitcoms.
Do you remember the Facts of Life episode when Tootie gets caught with the bong and she somehow says it's a jelly bean dispenser?
Oh my God, no!
It
And then
makes
Mrs.
no
Garrett
sense.
makes her
And it's
smoke
about
the entire
she gets
thing.
it at a record store, and it's like there's all this like weird negative energy about record stores. Like you're supposed to be afraid to go into a record store. It's fine.
Oh, but yeah, the head shops. No, but my favorite thing about the Facts of Life is Friends of Friends had a theater company that was all drag queens that would do faithful reenactments of
episodes?
Facts of Life. Yes,
That sounds amazing.
And they were great. They also did they did Brady Bunch one as well. Just absolutely fantastic.
Facts of Life was
Anyway, it's
interesting
really
too
fun.
because it was like they had this cast that was like 18 girls, and Molly Ringwald was in it, and there was a woman, I can't remember her name, she had blonde hair that wasn't Blair, that was kind of like the tomboyish one, and then they just decimated the
They
cast
actually
the
killed-
next year until it was just 4 people.
Between the two seasons,
There was a murder.
the canon is that most of the school died, but they made a pact to not mention it. It was a consent decree by the police, by the
because Mrs.
Department
Garrett
of
had been drinking and she left the gas on, but didn't light the pilot
Eric,
light, and they all.
We're not allowed to ascribe. We're not allowed to ascribe blame
legally I can't.
Legally, we can't say that, but allegedly,
yes. So
anyway.
please follow me on Tumblr.
That's all it is a plea for more followers on Tumblr. If you like this type of thing, the conversation we're having right now, you're gonna love Eric's middle-age graphic novel Goblin. So go to Realm of Goblin.
Middle-aged graphic
to
novel. I like that. Just like for older
it's
people.
For old people or kids who are old at heart.
Middle grade as well, but middle-aged certainly. Yes. Yeah, I got this book coming out, and it takes forever.
I really
It's
tried.
not going to be out till 2024, and I'm also writing a Choose Your Own Adventure book that I got to find a publisher for and figure out what to do. How am I going to tell you people about that? I can't do it on Mastodon, where I have 4 followers. I'm going to talk about it on Tumblr, although I could talk about it on Tumblr.
Yeah,
so that's
we'll just do that.
That's where I'll
Anyway.
be. And I got to
Folks,
feel out how
we're
to
gonna
follow
end.
Dan on
We're
Mastodon.
wrapping this damn thing
I am E Grissom on Mastodon.social. Maybe I'll get a bunch of followers and things will change. Dan, you were DanJNJ at Mastodon.
LOL.
LOL. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I found you.
You did.
I found you. I just followed you.
So follow me.
You'll follow me, and then we're gonna be friends.
I'll follow
Now
you
we're gonna be
back, and
friends
then
for
we'll be
real.
friends forever.
You're not really friends, so you're friends on an awkward social network. That doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Anyway, everybody, take care of yourselves out there.
Take care.
We'll talk to you again in we have one more Sandman.
Yeah,
coming,
so
we're gonna
we
get a
already
Sandman
said
after this.
we do have another Sandman. Are we still doing the other Sandman?
We
I guess
are
we're
still-
gonna
we have to
still do
finish
the
it.
other
We have to
Sandman.
finish
So we have one last old Doctor Who show
Hurrah.
presents the Sandman. Then we return to Doctor Who and only Doctor Who for now. This is Frontier in Space goes up, then Android Invasion, as I said. So that's our next one, the great Tom Baker Android Invasion. So join us there in 3 weeks, please, or next week for Sandman, as Dan said.
Who knows? Whatever. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Jimmy, look. Huh? Good Lord, get down, Sue. Don't move. Those creatures. They got almost human bodies.
A dragon head.
They're heading right toward the others.
Look at that one, bigger than the rest. He looks like he is a dragon, breathing smoke and fire.
But he walks like a man.
think he sees us.
Earth people, hear me and hear me well. I, Draco, King of the Dragon Men, Master of the Heavens, from this moment on shall rule over planet Earth. Your fate is sealed.